Well, good morning on this rainy morning from the UK. At least it's raining here. So, yesterday I ventured into a topic that I really dislike discussing. Even though politics has a clear effect on life, it often attracts people who would like to discuss things in a much more heated way. I'm not saying that's not good, I'm saying instead that it's something that I like to avoid because I know very little about politics, even though some might think that I'm fairly knowledgeable about these things. My knowledge is mostly based on history and the observation of what people usually talk about. In my experience, there are two kinds of people who wish to engage in a friendly or less friendly discussion in politics. One of them will throw facts at you backed by reasoning and facts and opinions and probably more facts. And that's very useful. Unfortunately, I can't argue with that because I don't have any counter arguments or counter facts or counter opinions or counter discussion. The other kind usually makes a decision about something and presents it as, well, not really a fact probably, but something that they stand by. So, when it comes to Hungarian politics, lots of people love the current government and lots of people don't love the current government. And the reason I'm saying current government and not names is because often I have problems remembering the names. Also, I think it would be a lot more personal if I start naming the Prime Minister and the other ministers and members of parliament and all that. Instead of trying to go into details and make all sorts of mistakes, I would just rather admit that I'm inadequate to answer those questions. And I think it's important to talk about this because it sets a precedent for the upcoming videos I'm going to have. I also can't really compare Hungary with countries like the UK, the US, Argentina, North Korea, China, Japan, Russia, etc. with basically all the countries, because I don't know all the countries. That's why I'm always reluctant to say something as exact as your country is better than my country. And even though sometimes I do, it's probably by mistake. Every country has its problems. Every country's political system has its faults, but every country has its advantage. For instance, it's quite advantageous that getting weapons in Hungary is very complicated and hard. And because not a lot of people have weapons, that might contribute to, school shootings we have, for instance. But then again, I'm not saying that it is the exact cause, because for all I know, school shooting might just be a cultural hobby that either develops in a country or it doesn't. What I can talk about, though, is how Hungarians perceive the world without actually comparing it to lots of other stuff. And lucky for me, I'm not running for president. Whatever I say is irrelevant. And as always, even if it makes sense, you should be skeptical about whatever I say. Now, having that said, today's short topic is about the billboards the government of Hungary is using to educate people about the situation we are in. And those billboards state that the European Union and even the UN is actively trying to force Hungary into situations that are not beneficial for the country. One of these situations is simply that they want to force us to house refugees. And that's bad, because they want to make the Hungarian government to pay for the life of these refugees, the livelihood I mean, bills and housing and all that sort of stuff. Now, as a normal citizen, what I usually do is, when I'm presented with a piece of information that I'm unsure about or sounds dangerous, I quickly Google it. And quick Googling finds that statement is not exactly right. Because what the European Union wants Hungary to house refugees and gives the money for us to house the refugees. The big question is, would we accept people running from a war in Syria, or should we treat them with skepticism and distrust? Now, there are lots of ways to approach this problem, and my silly way of approaching would be that if I were running from a war and my home was destroyed and loved ones dead and things like that, how would I want Hungary or some other country to treat me? I would certainly expect distrust, because I'm someone who was not born in that country, and therefore it's very suspicious. When I'm there, I might be a spy, a double agent, or a triple agent, or a terrorist, or a pineapple farmer, or a doctor. Who knows? But whenever I'm presented a problem, I usually gather the facts. Even though most of these people might not have proper paperwork on them, if they can produce enough evidence that they are good people, I would naively think that they are welcome in the country. However, as far as I know, no such checking action has been taken so far by the government. Instead, the answer is categorically no, which I understand, because Hungary has loads of problems, mostly economical, and such a poor country would probably be struggling when it comes to integrating these people into the society. And since we are one of the least economically stable countries in the European Union, behind countries such as the Czech Republic or Slovakia, it's understandable what the government wants to do. But that's only in my hand. This is my theory. Is it true? Because other than the billboard and the category no, there is no proper explanation that I know of. Or is there? I think most people that criticize the current government are people who wish to have better communication. And people who usually protect and agree with the government and believe that it's some sort of savior of the country are perfectly satisfied with the answers that the current government gives to questions the media usually has. And it's almost impossible for me to make sense of it. And I guess that is my overall point with this episode, if it's even a point. So if anyone wants to point out anything about the current refugee situation, they are more than welcome to contribute. Because like I said, I only know about the billboards, which give out not properly true information, and other government communication that is equally mysterious. So as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully next time we can drill into the history of the Hungarian political system starting from 1989.